Jana, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I think we're waiting on a few more people. How's everybody doing? Busy?
Yep.
Is there ever a non-busy time of year?
No.
Okay, good to know. What's the most busiest time of year? Is that like right after the holidays?
It varies a lot depending on which part of the industry you're in.
Gotcha.
So Debbie,
Right
I
now.
would say,
Go ahead, Bonnie.
oh, I said, because I heard you talking again, Jana. I would say that it's budget season, CAM season for office, retail, and industrial side. So that's March, and then it's either fall or early winter, unless you have clients who decide they want to budget 3 weeks earlier and give you 2 days to turn it. And Jana, I see that you're smiling. That's the situation I'm in this week. So I have 3 budgets to finish before tomorrow.
Do you have help?
It's down to like the last parts that you really just like I'm picky about, so I have to do on my own to make sure everything's there and like our capital's all lined up. Because it's kind of what we live off of. We don't get to ask for additional funds throughout the year. So it's a fun challenge.
Excellent. Well, I guess we can go ahead and get started. People can join as they need to.
Yeah, I was thinking first, let's just have everybody introduce themselves real quick and say what interested you in joining this call. I know some people on the call and have some familiar faces, and then others that I'm not familiar with. So would love to meet everybody. If you're comfortable, would love to have you go on camera, but it's not required. Just helps with engagement and feeling like we're talking to someone rather than a picture. But I'm Jana Dalton. I am the current president of the chapter. I've been involved with the board since 2019. And I am joining mostly just because I want to figure out what our members are looking for and how we can best support our members as we continue to evolve the chapter. Bonnie, do you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go next. I'm Bonnie Kais. I am a senior real estate manager with CBRE. I do have my CPM, but I am on the board and fingers crossed will be on the board next year as secretary treasurer. And really just here to support anybody that's interested in getting their CPM, being a candidate, just have questions about it. I'm here to answer anything and always available.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go. I'm Terry Hanna from WW Reynolds. I manage our Fort Collins portfolio, and I also do brokerage and leasing here as well. My portfolio is about 800,000 square feet, and I'm doing the CPM slowly.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, my name is Tori. I'm with CBRE. I've been with CBRE for over 2 years now, but have been dabbling with in and out of commercial real estate for the past 21 years. And so the purpose of me joining is just want to listen to how everyone handles their day to day, because it seems to change every minute of the day, which is pretty cool. So just going through that. I'm also registering for and going after my CPM as well. So I'd like to hear about that process.
Awesome. Thanks, Tori.
I can go. My name is Rachel. Here at Just High Property Management, I do my own thing. I have a mix of commercial and residential that I've been doing. I just finished my ACOM certification, but I did the long route knowing that I wanted to go on and finish the CPM. So just looking for, I just finished that one and I'm ready just to start the last parts of the CPM. So I thought I'd just join and see what information everybody had to share.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel.
I'll go. My name is Iman. I am the Secretary Treasurer for this year. I hope to be moving into the role of Vice President next year. I have just gotten my CPM at the beginning of this year. I do residential property management, and I'm here to meet folks and see how I can help and where I can answer questions or just be engaged.
My name is Teo Nikolai. I'm a CPM candidate. I've thankfully at that point where I've completed all the requirements. I'm just vesting at this moment. So that's a good place to be. I teach real estate finance and investment at Harvard University, and I teach that about 6,000 students come through some real estate investment courses that I teach. And I'm always interested in meeting people and hanging out with people in the industry and networking. And so that is how I find myself here. So anyway, it's good to see all of you. I hope you're doing well.
Hi, my name is Brooke Para. I'm with Ross & Volf. I'm the Executive Vice President here. We specialize in third-party fee management for affordable buildings. We're have a corporate office here in Denver, and then we're primarily in this Western region, and then our other locations kind of fan out from the Southeast part of the United States, and just trying to figure out and push myself to finish up and get my CPM certification. So wanted to join today and talk with others and see what's going on.
Awesome. I think Kathleen, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Kathleen Struble and I work with Brooke and I'm at Ross Management. And I'm also interested in the CPM designation.
Awesome. Terry, are you there?
I am. I am, sorry. I am just kind of going to be a fly on the wall. My name is Terry Lind. I actually, I am Debbie's counterpart in Chicago. I run the Chicago chapter. I saw this posted on Facebook, thought it was interesting, maybe something I would try with my chapter. So I'm just peeking in to borrow some ideas for us. So thank you for allowing me to participate.
Great. Love having other chapters come join us.
Thanks.
Abby and Debbie, do you want to introduce yourselves also? Sure. So I'm Debbie Reese with the Denver chapter. I'm your chapter executive director. And Abby is also with guests. She helps me out with my business and my clients. And she's here to help take notes and make sure we send out anything that we need.
Awesome. So it sounds like, you know, just about everybody that joined is really interested in kind of the CPM process, you know, getting through that and any tips or tricks. I know, Aman, you just recently got yours. Would love to hear any thoughts you had from your process, and we can also open up for any questions that people have just up front. And we've got a couple topics that we can cover as well.
So having just completed mine, I can say that the asset management track is very important. So I wouldn't wait too long between doing the asset management track and then doing your management plan, because you pull on a lot of that information in the management plan.
How many people have started taking the basic, like human resources, maintenance, marketing, those courses? If you want to just like raise your hand. Okay, and how many have already gone through the asset management track and finance? Okay, so Teo, you're the only one. Would love to hear your thoughts as well. I know since you obviously teach finance, it would be great to hear your perspective on the finance and the asset management track.
I thought they were a ton of fun. I thought the classes are done very, very well. I think the books are the material that goes along with it corresponds very, very well with the what's actually taught in the class, as well as what's on the exam. And I went the exam route. And so I think it's all very valuable and useful stuff. So I had a blast with it.
Does anybody have any initial questions about the finance or asset management track?
For what it's worth, I'll just note there's a calculator that they recommend that you get. You can also there's an online version of that calculator, which I got, it's like $5 or something, which I found very, very useful, and it was useful for the exam to have that calculator. So I'd recommend that route.
Do you remember the name of the calculator?
I figured you might ask that. I think it's the. Let me get back to you. I'll look up to what that calculator is. So
we had to use
Janet,
one for my master's in real estate, so I was just curious if it's the same one.
It's the HB 10B2. So 10B2. I'm an HB 12C person myself, so it was a little bit weird to it was but the class is taught and the information is provided with under the HB 10B 10B2 plus. So obviously you go with whatever the curriculum calls for. So it was a little bit hard to get used to, but I ended up not buying an actual physical calculator. I just used an online version, and it was just fine.
Jana, have you ever used that in your line of work, or not, since you've already got your CPM?
So going back and getting my master's in real estate, I've had to use the C12, whatever it was. Primarily, we use Excel very extensively, so not as much on the calculator front, but I will tell you our acquisitions team, all of them still have that calculator and they do use it. So it is definitely used depending on which side of the industry that you go into. Yeah.
Nice job,
HB12C, it's old school. My experience out in the world of finance and acquisitions, because I was the director of acquisitions for about a $500 million real estate investment firm, is these days almost everyone just does everything in Excel, because it's very rare that you're trying to do the kind of work that needs to be done for acquisitions and not doing it on a computer. Like I can imagine if I was like on a desert island and I need to close a deal, I could figure it out, the amortization, schedule using this. But in reality, our spreadsheets these days are so detailed and allow you to just explicitly lay out all your assumptions in a way that a calculator can't really do. But it's, there's neat party tricks to be done here. So that's my overall take on it. But I did as an HP 12C person, it took some doing for me to relearn the HP 12, the HP 12 or 10B2. So for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think, oh, go ahead, Amon.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I know they give you some pretty cool spreadsheets to work with in the asset management track, in addition to you needing the calculator. So I feel like that even the spreadsheet they gave us had a calculator built in. It just didn't do all of the things that you had to show on the test or to do in the management plan. I definitely kept those though.
Yeah, I think doing the calculator can help you to be thinking about the inputs and the outputs and what you're trying to get more so than when you use Excel, because Excel does a lot of the work for you. So I think getting to know like how you actually have to input each thing physically into a calculator does have its benefit, even though you will most likely use Excel. I think it just helps kind of get the brain working. Bonnie, were you going to say something?
I was going to basically state that using the calculator makes it so you understand the process. So similar to what you were saying. I also think that if the calculator's around, like I have it sitting at my office, which I'm not at my actual desk, I'm somewhere else today, but I pull it out all the time when I'm trying to crunch the leasing numbers because it's a quick route unless you have your Excel spreadsheets, but you don't always have those.
So it sounds like everybody's at least a little ways into the process for the most part. How's it been going so far?
Again, I'll just jump in. I thought it's been going great. I've enjoyed the material. It's been a very, again, there's so much to cover in the world of real estate. And so again, as someone who has taken many classes and taught many classes, it was great to actually see kind of the how IREM condensed and distilled information to deliver it in a great way. So again, I recommend the classes. I think that they're a lot of fun. So I enjoyed them.
Rachel, what do you think so far? I'm going to start calling people out.
Okay, yeah, so I finished all of the, like I was looking at all the lists while we were talking. So I think I finished all the other classes already, doing the ACOM, and now it's just those asset management classes. And so far, yeah, it's been, you know, some are like a little slower than others or whatever, but I've been just doing everything online. So I think the asset management is the one that's really going to be more hands-on and exciting to start working on. Just because it's, yeah, that's what I'm excited to focus on. So I will be working on starting those soon.
Tori, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it's just been actually the hardest thing has been trying to find time just to get through the material. So that's, of course, just balancing work life and personal life, and then trying to squeeze this in between that. So that's where I find really the biggest challenge. So I've been taking some courses, but I've also been wanting to find out if I can fast track myself, but I'm not sure if my experience will allow that, checking all the boxes. So it's been kind of going through both of those processes.
How does that work, fast tracking?
Well, from what I've been understanding, it's basically providing basically a history of what you've been doing up to this point, and seeing if those categories actually fall in alignment, and then submitting that information. But it's been like one of those things where I don't really want to go back and go through all that history, or should I just go forward with all the new information? So that's really where the quandary I've been in.
The information I got from headquarters was you have to have one of three things: 20 years of qualifying real estate management experience, or a designation from another approved industry organization like the CCIM, the CFM, the CRRP, CSM, PCAM, RPA, or the SIOR. I don't know what all those acronyms are, but there you go. Or
Thank you.
Lastly, a college degree in property management or real estate with a minor or concentration. So that will allow you to waive the 7 of the 8 courses to fast track.
Yeah, and then that 20 years of qualifying experience, it's got to be the same like 19 out of 36 categories that's on the application. So if you can show that you've done 19 of those 36 items for 20 years, then you would be able to fast track. For those of you that have been, you know, in the industry for a little bit, you've obviously been working. Did you find that the initial classes still had information that you were like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, or I don't think about that on a daily basis? Or was it more of a just kind of like, okay, I want to get through these as quickly as possible so that I can get to the asset management track?
So for me,
Go ahead, Mom.
So for me, I mean, I've been doing this for 18 years, and I mean, it's been a while since I did that initial set of like the human resources, marketing, maintenance, those classes, but there was information in there that either I didn't know or that was a good refresher for me. I know that a lot of the maintenance stuff, while I knew some of it, there was quite a bit that I didn't know because I had never managed a type of building that might have had that type of system in it. And so when it was going through like some of the, I don't know if it was a plumbing system, and I was like, what is this? I had to call somebody and be like, can you help me explain to me what this is? Do we have any of these, or what is this? And so, yeah, there was some new information and some good refresher information in it for me.
Yeah, I'll just note. So I'm a fast track person, and I still took all the classes because I think they are valuable. Like I think it's one of those things that there's getting the certificate, which obviously it's itself invaluable in that designation, that kind of getting the certificate concept. But I love the classes. I think even if you do qualify for a fast track, my recommendation from just going through it is take all of them, because as Iman said, like there's stuff that maybe you haven't touched in a while, but really will help and strengthen you as a professional if you revisit those. And so I strongly recommend them anyway, even if you don't have to take them. So that's my take.
How long do you think in working full time it takes to get through all the classes and get your CPM? About how much time should we allocate to?
So you have to be an applicant or a candidate, sorry, for at least a year. So no matter what, you have to be a candidate for a year. So you can do it all in that year if you have the qualifying experience already and you've got the time and the ambition to do so. I didn't quite have the experience to qualify immediately, so I took my time and I took about 3 years to complete it personally. But it really just depends on what you want to do. I also had a constrained budget. It had to go through, my properties budget. So had to be thinking about that as well and timing, that expense. And so it can take as long or as little of time as you want. But the minimum is that 1 year requirement. And I think, the average person I've talked to, it's been about 2 to 3 years. And a lot of it has been driven by how busy their lives are, how busy their work is, and if they have the qualifying experience yet or not. Because to me, it didn't really make sense to finish it and then be like, okay, well, I still have 2 years of experience to get, and then you forget everything by the time you want to actually apply.
Jana, can I just, if you are also a CPM, I'm sorry, an ARM or an ACOM for the year beforehand, that counts towards your year. So you don't have to become a candidate immediately. You can do that at the end. Because I know we said we have Rachel's an ACOM. So there's really no point in applying to be a candidate because it costs you money. So you don't have to apply for that right away. It's just more of a cost saving thing if you want to wait for that.
Oh, that's super helpful, because I've taken all those classes and I will come up on my 3 years probably next August, September time. So I'm trying to kind of finish by then, but I've gotten some of the other big stuff out of the way. So I don't have to rush to apply.
And you have your ACOM, correct?
Yeah,
Yes. So a year of ACOM or ARM qualifies you in your candidacy. Yes.
Okay, super. Thank you.
So I did have a question. So once you get your CPM, how does the industry look at you differently?
I think it depends. So some of it comes from you having to educate them on what the CPM is and why it's beneficial. And then some of it, if you're with a company that has had people with their CPM or they really push for it in their higher level roles, they're already going to know that. So for me, my reason for getting my CPM was because if I wanted to go into corporate at my company that I was at, I had to have it. And so they automatically knew the value and required it in order to move up to that level versus the company I'm at now. It's primarily student housing. They've never heard of IRM before. They've never heard of the CPM. So I'm doing a lot of educating not only around how it was beneficial for me in transitioning from property management to asset management, but also how it can benefit our team members to get that education and how it can be something that drives our performance and makes our company stand out compared to our competitors. So I think it's twofold depending on where you're at in the industry. And how well known in the circles you're in the CPM and IRM are.
I would also add that it depends on who your clients are. So on the commercial side, there are specific clients that require you, the manager of the property, to have your CPM, or else they won't hire you. So they expect that education piece because they expect a little bit more from their manager.
Did that help answer your question, Tori, or would you like better elaboration?
No, yeah, that was perfect. That helped me a lot.
Okay, good. What other questions do we have?
I do have another question to throw out there because the bulk of my experience has been on as an FM facility side. How has that transition, or what really is the true difference between property management and facilities management? Because I see it as so much the same.
Bonnie, do you want to take a stab at that one?
I'm sorry, I've had an HVAC issue pop up, so I missed the call to the question. Say that again, sorry.
My question was related to, bulk of my experience has been on the FM side of things, facilities management. So my question is what is really the true line in the sand difference between facilities management versus property management? Because I'm seeing it really cross both paths. And so really, what's that true difference?
So I would say the biggest difference is within facility management, you're handling the property on behalf of the tenant. On property management, you are overseeing on behalf of the owner of the property. So you could have an owner with a tenant within the property, and then the mindset there, I would say, really comes down to the capital projects. And then I also would say the other piece, knowing your portfolio, is where all do you go and what is your budget. So certain tenants will only be spending the CAM expenses that are above their base year, where in facilities maintenance, everything has to get approved by the tenant, or everything has a budget line and you don't go above that. So it's a little bit different of just who do you have to ask and get approval from.
I'd like
Did
to
that
add
answer?
a bit to that, because so I mean, so for me, on my side of things, I do residential property management, and so we don't have, I mean, we have tenants, but they're like residential tenants versus commercial or industrial tenants. And so I think the CPM doesn't just focus on one sector of the marketplace. So it's not just about industrial or commercial. There's also the residential piece to it too. And so, I mean, in property management, you can be a property manager in any sense of the word. You know, I mean, and so with the CPM, it delves a little bit into all of them as opposed to just focusing on one.
And I would go off of that and say that it definitely covers the wide range. It gives everybody a little bit more understanding of what really is in residential or student housing or commercial or retail or any of the different categories that our industry has labeled. And then it does focus for your last piece, for your management plan, into the category that you're most comfortable with. So when I did it, the majority of my properties were retail, but I was more interested in office because that was my focus. So I did an office management plan while sitting next to somebody that was doing a housing management plan. So we talked about it too, and they make sure that it gives you the path that you want, but it does cover enough that you could transition from one to the other.
Yeah, and then on the residential side, we don't typically have facilities managers like you do on the office, industrial, retail side. We have maintenance teams, and there is pretty clear delineation between what the office is responsible for and what maintenance is responsible for. Obviously, the property manager is ultimately responsible for everything that occurs on the property, but it's definitely a much larger learning curve on the residential side for the maintenance team members that want to get their CPM, because they don't have the same level of exposure to the financials and to, you know, the overall big picture. And so I would say the office and industrial side kind of have a leg up compared to the residential side, because the facilities managers are so much more involved in the actual management of the property. What other questions?
I just have a question. From anyone who has done a management plan, like an actual formal plan, that sounded like a really, really cool project. You have to pick one route or the other. You either do the management plan test or the actual, you know, put together a management plan. So who did the management like plan, and how was your experience?
I only know one or two people that did the full blown, like, pick a property and create a like 100-page management plan, and they did not enjoy that experience. I think you can get really great kind of bite-sized experience of what it takes to look at a property from the whole perspective by doing the exam portion of it, versus like having to find a property, get all of the data, get all the information, come up with your assumptions. It's a lot of work, and it is more duplicative of what you see in real life. But from the perspective of which one is going to make the most sense for you to get your CPM and still be able to apply it, I personally would recommend the exam, just based off of what I've heard. I think they've made it better over the last couple of years, so I can't necessarily speak to that, but that was the experience I had heard previously.
So I know I know of at least one CPM that's in our chapter that has done the actual management plan, and I heard that it was not a fun, enjoyable experience. I also suggest doing the test option, but yeah, I heard it was not. It was a lot of work, and I think that when they're grading your management plan, like I think that there's while there's a whole process that they go through when they're grading the actual management plan to see if you qualify for your CPM, I think there's like a whole rigorous thing that they go through. So like, and I forget, and they tell you when you do your, at least they told us what that process looked like when we were doing the asset management track. But there's like a couple of different people that review it. They're looking for very specific things. And so it didn't sound like a good time to me.
Interesting. Thanks for the perspective.
I was going to leave, but I'm so intrigued by all your questions. But I have to tell you, for my chapter, I've never heard anything good about writing the independent management plan. So anybody that says they're going to do that, I try to hook them up with someone that has some experience with that and to try to talk them out of it. So I don't know if anybody was leaning that way.
Yeah, I think people get really ambitious and they're like, yeah, I really want to do the full management plan. I'm going to learn so much. It's going to make me feel confident in putting it together in the future. And then you quickly realize that information in real estate is really hard to obtain. And then unless you're like involved in every level of that property already, getting the information you need in order to create a management plan is one of the biggest hurdles. And then it just kind of snowballs from there. And so it can be very challenging if you don't have access to all of the information related to that specific property. It's going to be almost impossible to create a realistic management plan.
And even if you're a bad tester, you know, people think they are. That's everything they think they can sit down to it. It's 4 hours. Writing your management plan could take weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And if you are not dedicated to sitting down and saying, I'm going to work on this for 3 hours tonight, or I'm going to work on this all weekend, if you're not nose to the grindstone, that's what I tell my people. If you're not nose to the grindstone, stay in those parameters that are the test.
Thanks, Terry.
It sounds like we've killed anyone's ambitions of doing the management plan. But so just to pile on, I will say, again, I didn't take that road, so that's why I was curious to hear about it. But for if anyone has any questions about taking the exam, obviously we have other people here who have taken it. But I will agree with Terry. I found it very manageable. I thought the questions were very, very clear, and the work that all the prep work that goes into it for that IRIM provides, I found very, very relevant and useful. So Terry says that people think they're bad test takers. I hear you on that one, and I'll just double down on what Terry said, which is if you're thinking about that, you're not a bad test taker. You're going to do fine.
Good. Thanks. Yeah, and full disclosure, I've never taken the test. I've never seen a question on the test. That's not what I do. I do a Debbie, but I hold people's hands through the test. So, and I've gotten a lot of feedback. That's where my experience comes from.
I will throw it out there, having taken it 3-4 years ago. I don't even know now. If you guys have questions, I'm happy to sit and go through anything one-off. I have another friend that is in our league that wants to sit down and go through the financials so then she can take the test. So we're setting up to do coffee dates where we sit and do things. So if there is something that you want, definitely reach out to anyone within our chapter that has their CPM or any of the board members, because we're more than happy to sit and connect you with great people.
Are we allowed to do like a study group? Kind of like the same thing, I guess, coffee chat.
That's basically what I'm doing with one of our members. So she wants to just go over, because she has all the materials, but it's been years since she's taken the class. I took the classes more recent than she did. So we're just going to go through the financials, and then I think she's going to sign up to take the test because she has everything else done. So it's all open book too. So if your time management skills are great, then you can hunker down for those 4-6 hours and knock everything out that you need to get done.
Awesome.
So you can do show of hands. Would anybody be interested in doing like study groups together or small groups like this where you can kind of go through the materials and ask more detailed questions?
Be glad to be a part of that.
Cool.
Debbie, after this, we can connect, and I'll send out an email so everyone has my contact, and we can create something. We'll figure out time and everything else.
And Terry just said that Minnesota's trying to put together a study group too. So I don't know if we can combine forces, but
yeah.
Or just
find that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pretty active Facebook group for that. So I would direct people there. And I honestly, the best thing I got out of that Facebook group was people that are being like, I was really stressed out, I was going to fail. And then I took it and I realized it was totally fine. Like that. So that encouragement, I think, was pretty cool. And it's not that it's an easy exam, but as Terry noted, people I think are much better prepared than they might think. So that was it's a great resource.
So the 2 days,
share that link in the chat.
Oh, the IRIM students, it's called IRIM students, isn't it? Teo? It is very
Quite possibly. I'm going to check right now.
Yes, I think it is. I'm on it too, because I just want to see what kind of questions people ask. And they really are encouraging to each other. They ask questions. Some of the instructors come in with answer questions, not about the test, obviously, but just in general. So it's really kind of interesting to be part of while you're going through this process. Yes. And remember, the 2-day prep in the capstone is really going to prepare you. It's not going to do everything if you haven't done the courses, but that 2-day prep is there to make sure you pass this test. And these teachers are excellent instructors.
So you would say that that's still pretty good, even if you're on the fast track method?
Prep?
Yeah.
Well, you have to, I guess you don't have to show up, but you have to take the capstone, which is called 2-day prep. But the only thing I recommend, and you tell other people, is I recommend that they really, really look at the ASM courses, because as was mentioned all along, you don't have to take the ASM courses if you fast track, but that is the financial foundation of your capstone. It used to be more when you wrote a management plan in 2 days, which is now switched over to a 4-hour test, but it's still very important. That financial portion is very important.
Yeah,
Great.
I'll say when I was getting mine and I did the capstone here in person in Denver back in 2017, and I had just transitioned from property management to asset management. And the experience I had gained in that like 9 months that I was in asset management made it so I was able to be teaching people that had been in the industry twice as long as myself on the property management side about those concepts like IRR, cash on cash return, discounted cash flows. Those are all things that we typically don't get exposure to in the property management side. And it is a huge part of understanding a management plan and being able to pass that course. So if you are not familiar with those terms that I just mentioned, I would be happy to talk about them more, but I do highly recommend the finance asset management, or at least doing the capstone with those 2 days of prep to really help you understand those concepts.
Thank you.
So I have to say that the capstone was extremely important for me. So I figured that I would take the capstone and do it. Like I took the time off, but I did it from my office at work. That did not work for me. So the very first time I took the test, I didn't pass it. So I had to actually take my CPM test twice because I wasn't paying attention during the capstone. So it was very important for me to take the capstone. The second time I took the capstone, I actually focused and paid attention, made sure that I didn't have any distractions, and I breezed right through the test.
Any other questions? Hopefully we haven't scared everybody. Awesome. Well, Teo was kind enough to put that Facebook group. If anybody does Facebook and wants to be able to connect with other students, you can definitely go join that. Sounds like Bonnie and Debbie will get in touch about some potential like study groups that we can offer. And then we're always here if you guys think of more questions. Bonnie just put her contact information in the chat. So, you know, we want to see other people succeed and get their CPM and be able to provide that value to themselves as well as their companies. So let us know if there's anything else we can do to support you.
Thank you for hosting this. This is great. Great to see everyone.
Yes,
Wonderful.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day.